Hello, everyone. My name is Bailey Duarte. I am the Community Engagement Manager for LA Waterkeeper, and I just want to say thank you again for joining us tonight to rethink your daily habits, hosting a water conservation conversation using digital tools. And thank you. Next slide. Before we jump into all of our conversations tonight, just want to give a shout out to LA Waterkeeper. We are an environmental advocacy organization working to protect the LA region's waterways. We fight for the health of our region's waterways and for sustainable, equitable, and climate-friendly water supplies. Next slide. So some housekeeping tonight. Please submit your questions using the question and answer function through Zoom. This webinar will be recorded and shared through LA Waterkeeper's digital media channels, including our YouTube page and posted on our website as well. So feel free to use that Q&A function tonight. So tonight we will start off with a conversation with myself and Ari from Dashboard.Earth on how we personally save water in our daily lives. And we'll be joined with Joe from Flume on how we can use more digital tools in our water conservation journey. Next slide. So before we get started, I just wanted to mention that today's workshop is the third workshop on in our series in a partnership with LADWP. Our previous workshop focused on outdoor water conservation and including fire resilient landscaping and can be found on LA Waterkeeper's YouTube page and on our website as well. But before we dive even deeper into our conversation, just want to take a moment and talk about why water conservation is so important in the first place, right? We're not in a drought. We haven't had a drought official year. And while LA is not currently facing any water restrictions, nor has 2025 officially been labeled a drought year, the Western US has experienced drought nearly every year since the year 2000. Now, that means another drought is inevitable, and so it's really critical for Angelenos to adopt conservation as a way of life mindset and make water-wise decisions and water-wise habits every day. The less water we use today, the more water we're able to get us through the next inevitable drought. And the more water we save, inevitably we're fighting against climate change. The transportation and conveyance of water in the state uses 19% of our state's electricity, which is a lot. And therefore, water has a big energy and a big carbon footprint. So the treatment for saving water pays dividends with our climate goals and reducing carbon emissions. And saving water is really just another tool in the fight against climate change. So now I can bring on Ari, thank you, slides, and he'll go over why Dashboard.Earth is such a great app and tool. Ari.
Thank you, Bailey. How's it going, everyone? My name is Ari. I am the community manager at Dashboard.Earth. Dashboard.Earth is a great tool and a free app. We essentially just connect the dots to incentivizing climate actions. So on the Dashboard.Earth app, you take various categories of climate actions, you get to track your impact, and that helps an average individual begin their climate action journey because 60 to 80% of those emissions are driven by individual choices. So if we could change a few things every day, even as simple as skipping single-use plastic, all our impact will make a difference. Go next slide. Here's a little display of our app on whenever you download the Dashboard.Earth app. Sorry. We have a homepage where we showcase the weekly prize right on top. The prizes are always around sustainability and being eco-friendly. And you have your impact little report card, as I call it. That's my favorite, where you can kind of track all your waste diverted, water saved, emissions avoided. And we have a little Discover tab with events on there across LA with our partners like LA Waterkeeper, anywhere from beach cleanups to just kind of a lot of nonprofits getting together and just talking about climate and educating people. And then we align our daily climate actions that we have our users take. We align it with the LA climate goals. So every year it kind of changes and we always add or remove some climate actions. Next slide. And a little glimpse into what kind of climate actions you can take. So this is the best part. If you have your phones, just go ahead and scan that QR code so you can take your first action today. Some everyday habits we have on our app are essentially turning off the lights Sounds simple, but a lot of people don't do that. Brush wisely, my favorite, which is to conserve water, just simply turning off the water while you're brushing your teeth. Composting, also alternative transportation, leaving your car at home for the day. And then we also have some super actions that require an extra step, but it's a little more incentivized. Anywhere from installing the low flow gear from LADWP or installing the Flume water monitoring system. Uh, and then my personal favorite is the e-waste. You get a little cash and some tickets for the weekly prize on the Dashboard.Earth app. Next slide.
Alrighty. So before we jump into the conversation, I just wanted to kind of tee up and frame this conversation um, with the emphasis that Ari and I are apartment dwellers, and we are just normal folks saving water and saving energy in our daily habits. And water conservation ultimately comes down to personal habits when you are a renter or when you are maybe living in an apartment building. We may not have a yard or be able to have a rain barrel, so we're not able to like collect that water. But the other choices that we have in our arsenal can really make a difference. And we are really excited to bring our personal tricks, and habits to you. So, um, let's see. Ari,
Yeah, Bailey, you made a really good point. Because I live in an apartment and it's very like family oriented owned, and it's 5 units. And last summer, my landlord was going to redo the front lawn, and now I have a bunch of native plants in the front lawn. And even though I only pay rent, and luckily she only owns like 3 buildings in the neighborhood, and she's super, super friendly, I was able to like share what I've learned through my journey at Dashboard Earth. And now we have like 6 native plants, and she's
oh,
not coming
great.
over every week to water the front little area. So, although I do live in an apartment, there are some actions we can take.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in our daily routine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's one thing that you do in your daily routine to take a to save water?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely take showers that are way less than 5 minutes. I'm usually in and out, but that's just how I am, which is really cool. And
The
then,
short hair helps.
yeah, definitely. So like shorter showers, and then obviously like turning off the water while brushing my teeth and just not being wasteful. How do you save water, Bailey?
I think my favorite way and like one way that I've like really leveled up my water saving because when I was a kid, of course, like I knew to turn off the faucet like while you're brushing your teeth, and I knew like to take short showers. But really like leveled up my water conservation journey was this thing called the shower bucket challenge that I learned once I started working at LA Waterkeeper. Have you heard of the shower bucket challenge?
I have.
You have? Okay, great. For
What do you like use the water like what is it? But like I've done it
yeah,
once,
sure.
but I don't know.
So in my last apartment building, like I mentioned, apartment person, it took a while for the water to heat up while I was taking a shower. And so all of that water, it would take sometimes like 3 minutes. All of that water would go just down the drain because it wasn't hot enough for me, right? While I was waiting for my shower to warm up. So instead, you like take a bucket, or sometimes if I don't have a bucket because I'm an apartment person, I'll just get like a big cup or like a bowl and capture at least some of that water. And I'll use that water to water my plants mostly because I have a lot of plants, or sometimes I'll use it to rinse or like soak really, really dirty dishes that just need to like be in the water for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours. Have you ever done the shower bucket challenge?
Me or Joe?
Either of you? Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely done it, and then my dog just stares at me like, "What are you doing?" Like I have like a pot like you, and then I go around and like water my plants, and then like refill his dog bowl, and then he's just like sniffing
That's
everything. But
smart.
it's definitely very resourceful, and I feel like it's like the one easy thing just about anyone can do.
Right? Yeah. I didn't think about giving the water to pets. I should be doing that for my cats.
And then besides the shower bucket uh trick to like conserve water, like what's an easy one-time like action people can do?
I think a one-time action people can do, especially apartment folks that maybe want to like keep tabs on the state of their unit, right? Want to make sure we get our deposit back at the end of the lease, is checking for leaks. You'd be surprised at like how many times that landlords or plumbers like don't really like check in on leaks, especially in places that may have been vacant for a minute. Whenever I move into a new unit, I actually moved last year. I check all of the fixtures, toilets, shower. So that'd be like shower heads, the spout in the bathtub, all of the sinks and all of the bathrooms and all of the sinks and all the kitchens, like opening the cupboards and making sure that you don't see any like damp or like musty corners. Because if you see anything like that, that probably means that there's a leak. And even if you can't see the drop, like the drip leaking, it could be in the walls, which would be even worse. So make sure you're checking for leaks. That's a really easy one-time action.
So like that's a good point because like sometimes, well, not sometimes, like under my sink, when my mom came over, she was like, "Your sink's like your sink is leaking," and I'm like, "I've never seen a drip or anything." And then she like touched like a little container and it was like moist. So like, is that how you check for leaks? If you don't see it, you just kind of like need to be aware of the surroundings.
Yeah, you're just gonna be need to be aware of your surroundings. Like I said, you want to look for like musty or like damp
Uh,
places. Like if you open the cabinet underneath your sink, it should be bone dry. There shouldn't be any moisture there. But so if you see any condensation or if you see any water drops, there could be a really small leak. So you should definitely let your landlord know, let your property manager know. And let them know that they could always use, if you are in an LADWP serviced area, that they could use LADWP rebates for upgrading any fixtures that may need to be replaced.
yeah, I think on the Dashboard.Earth app, there's some re under the Discover tab, there's some resources that link you straight to LADWP for some resources and rebates as well.
Mhm.
So
Oh yeah,
I
and
guess
with those, sorry, I forgot to mention, with those rebates, you can also order even like the the dye patches, so you can check for leaks even in your toilets because toilets are the worst for leaks. I actually just fixed my toilet leak. It was really annoying. You could sometimes hear them, sometimes if the suction. I'm not a plumber, but there's like a flap in the toilet that fills your bowl, and sometimes when that suction isn't just right, it'll constantly leak out water. So you can put a little food dye, or you can order the dye tab from LADWP, put it in the tank of the toilet, and if you see any color in the bowl where you pee, then that means there's a leak. And if there's not, that means you don't have it. That's really nice.
that's good to know. So besides the shower bucket challenge and obviously the brush wisely climate action on the Dashboard.Earth app where you turn off the water while brushing your teeth, what's like your secret weapon to saving water?
Ooh, I think when I think of a secret weapon, I think of something that like maybe I'm like underestimating, or maybe not a lot of people know about. And so I think the dishwasher is my secret climate hero. One, because I hate doing dishes, but two, because running a full load of dishwasher like save so much water, save so much energy. And when you wash your dishes in the dishwasher, you're saving a lot more water than if you were to hand wash those dishes. Usually like 30 gallons on average, if not more.
And then if you don't like if you want to save water and you don't have a dishwasher, like I live in an older apartment and like
Yeah, yeah,
I hand wash my dishes, but like I just turn the water on and off. Like I'll turn it off as I'm scrubbing, but like what about like what's the best way to conserve water if you're just hand washing? Like the way I do it, like turning on and off the water as I'm scrubbing or
I do that sometimes if I have like a few dishes, but then I don't know about you, I get really messy when I'm washing dishes, and then my whole sink gets like soapy and sudsy, and then my roommates are like, "Why did Bailey do dishes?" Bailey only uses the dishwasher. And I have like some fragile or like there are just some things that you just have to hand wash. You can't put everything in the dishwasher. And when that situation happens with me, I use the two sink basin method. It's a trick I learned actually when I was working at an aquarium and I had to wash a bunch of pudding cups really, really quickly, and in a very conservation like oriented manner. So, have you heard of the two basin sink method?
Joe?
No? Okay. It's pretty easy. So most modern sinks are like divided in two, right? So you fill one side, or maybe it's just a bowl if you only have like one sink basin. You fill one side with really, really hot, soapy water, and you throw all your dishes in there. Throw them in there and let them soak ideally. And then once the temperature of the water isn't super hot, you're able to wash and scrub your dishes in that soapy hot water. And then you're going to dip rather than rinsing under a running water faucet. So you're going to dip it in clean water and then put it to dry.
Okay, that's
And
cool.
yeah, that's a pretty easy wet method. And that usually saves like 25 to 35 gallons of water. Because think about it, when you're letting the water run, even if it's just for a short second, there's always going to be like a few gallons of water, like a bit of water that just inevitably flows down the drain without being used. But by using the same clean water to just like quickly rinse the soap off, you're able to save a lot more water.
Mhm. Okay.
Just to build on the dishwasher, if people do have a dishwasher, we just did a study with our customers, and the average person saves about 3,000 gallons a year by just not pre-rinsing their dishes, just scraping off the food into the garbage can, and literally just putting them in the dishwasher. Most modern dishwashers now are designed to um, do all of the rinse washing. You really don't need to rinse the dishes to get them clean now with modern dishwashers and modern dishwasher detergents. So that's a really good way to save a lot of water. Most people think running a dishwasher takes a lot of water. An average dishwasher cycle takes about 4 gallons. To actually rinse your dishes takes about 20 gallons. So it saves a ton of water if you just skip that whole rinsing step.
More
Other,
reasons why the dishwasher is my climate hero.
exactly. And it makes things easier too. That's even to boot. And one other kind of hack, I guess, for people that actually have yards, most water, at least in residential communities, is used outdoors, especially in California. People use much more water if they have a yard outdoors than they do indoors. So just reducing the amount of water you use outside can save a ton of water. Replacing sprinklers with drip systems or changing the amount of time you water just by 10 or 20% can make a huge difference. And it usually makes absolutely no difference in how green your plants are. So there's lots of easy ways to save water outside as well.
Good. Thank you for those helpful tips and that insight on the dishwasher metric, Carol. Thank you so much. That actually brought something to my to my brain. Um, Sometimes when I am like hosting a meal, or sometimes like yeah, when I'm hosting a meal, I'll have like a bunch of like really like dirty plates. Um, and sometimes I'll like use like my water sprayer to like get at it. Um, but is there any way that like maybe like composting or like yeah, how can like composting help save water? Maybe Ari, would you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you do have a garbage disposal, like you're running the garbage disposal with your water running to kind of like lubricate the blades down there, but by composting alone, that is a climate action by conserving water by not wasting it in the sink. And then of course emissions as well, having your food go to the landfill and just not giving back to our environment and creating that compost.
Yeah, yeah. That's something that's like new to me. That's like a new thing for me. I like love my garbage disposal. I use it a lot, but now I'm gonna start using my compost bin a little bit
Yeah, and then even if you live in an apartment, there are some compost drop-offs at community gardens or LA Compost with farmers markets. And you can also just compost directly into your green bin too.
more. Nice, nice,
Yeah. And then you take the composting climate action on the Dashboard.Earth app.
nice. Good
Yeah.
luck. All right, I'm gonna ask that question that you asked me earlier to you. What's your secret weapon to save water?
Secret weapon.
Mhm.
I don't have any like secret tips or tricks, but the brush wisely one, which is just turning off the faucet, because like not only do I like brush my teeth, I have to shave and there is some facial hair. So just having that water run is just so wasteful, but definitely conserving water when needed. And if I just notice something, just shut it off, whether it's lights or water. But just being attentive and aware of my usage.
Good. Thanks. Thanks for that. And Joe, I'm gonna pass that question off to you too. What's your secret to saving water?
So I don't have a lot of secrets, but what I can tell you is where most indoor water is used. We actually study this. So toilets and showers use about 30% of indoor water each. So there's about two-thirds of your indoor water right there. So you can figure if you can reduce the amount of water used in both of those, that you can actually make a pretty big dent. Um, Leaks are a big thing. You mentioned them before, and a single toilet flapper leak can waste hundreds, if not thousands, of gallons a month. I mean, it's amazing how much water can just literally just go down the drain with a one toilet flapper leak. So those would be the three big things that I would focus on. I mentioned outdoor water too. I know the people, that are in multifamily types of housing, that's not a concern, but for people that are in single family houses or maybe condos that have yards, outdoor watering is, again, typically the biggest use of water in a home.
Well, thanks. That's still really helpful. And I think my last question for the both of you, and I can answer it first, is we all know that 5 minute showers are a really easy way for us to conserve water rather than taking a full length, 25 minute shower. So I try to time my showers with songs. I don't know about y'all, I like to listen to music while I take a shower. So what's your go-to 5 minute shower song, if you have one? My favorite is State of Grace by Taylor Swift, but I am a very well-known Swiftie. I try not to do tell all too well 10 minute version too often. But do you guys have a 5 minute shower song?
I don't have a specific song because I know I literally take 2 to 3 minute showers, but I love just having my entire playlist on shuffle and then the first song that comes to mind. But I just know I'm in and out. But I should get a song. I like
You
that
should
idea.
find a song. Yeah. Joe, do you have a 5 minute song?
I should get a song too. I'm gonna have to install some speakers in my shower first, I think. So
Shower playlist coming to you soon. Watch out. So just to recap our conversation, it sounds like we use our dishwasher as our climate hero. It sounds like we look for leaks in our homes, the 5 minute shower, of course, and the brushing wisely action as well. Remembering to turn off the faucet as you're brushing your teeth, as you're shaving your face, maybe as you're washing your face too. I actually do that now that I think about it. When I wash my face, I usually do like a double cleanse method, so that takes some time. So I usually take a moment to turn off the faucet as I'm washing my face. Thanks, y'all, for having this great conversation of water conservation, how we all take small little tips and tricks to save water in our lives. Thank you so much. Next slide. And so, Joe, we'll formally pass it off to you so you can give us a little bit more detail and insight into how we can install Flume into our homes.
great, thanks so much. Well, great. Maybe if we can go to the next slide. Um, it's always fun to talk a little bit about why we started the company Flume, and then in a second I'll tell you what it is. But it's really hard to save water if you really don't know how much water you're using. And that's really kind of the idea behind Flume. The old adage, you can't manage what you can't measure. I think is really true. Some of us get a water bill once a month, and that's really the only data point we have. And some people that live in apartments never even get water bills. So you really have no idea how much water you're using. So what we set out to do is, if we go to the next slide, is to create a cool device that'll essentially tell you exactly how much water you're using and where. It's a little device that looks like this. It's kind of stylized there on the slide, and hopefully you can see my video. I'm holding it up. And essentially what this device does is you essentially just strap it around your existing water meter that's at your home. And I'll give a caveat. Our device only works if you have a water meter. So if you're getting a water bill from the water company, most likely you have a water meter. If you have single family residents, some duplexes and triplexes and condos typically will have a meter. And essentially all you need to do is strap this around your meter, and it will instantly start to work. So if we go to the next slide, I'll kind of show you how that all works. So as I mentioned, the device straps around the meter. So if we start down at the bottom of the slide here, and when you install it, there's two pieces. One is you'll, again, strap this little guy using this rubber band around the water meter. And then there's a little piece that goes inside the house that'll connect to your Wi-Fi. And then once it's installed, it starts to send all of the water use information up to the Flume cloud, up into the ether, and where we take all that data and we apply some machine learning algorithms and we start to figure out, oh, that was a shower. And we start to give you all of that data back on your mobile phone. And you can get that data in real time. So literally as you're watering your lawn or flushing a toilet, you can actually see it happening on your phone. It tells you how much water was used. It tells you when it was used. You showered 20% more this week than last week. And it really gives you some great data to really kind of understand how you're using water. And if we go to the next slide, I'll show you kind of what the app looks like. So first and foremost, the app is going to tell you if you have a leak. Just based on EPA data, most houses leak anywhere from 10 to 15% of a household's use is leaks. That's a lot. In fact, I'll talk about this in a little bit, but we detect a lot of leaks. In fact, about 60 to 75% of our customers within the first month, we're notifying them that they have some sort of leak in their house. When I say leak, people think of, a geyser in the middle of the kitchen or a leak in the ceiling that destroys your house. Most leaks are tiny. Most leaks you don't see. They're toilet flapper leaks. A kid left a phone in the bathroom, or somebody didn't turn their hose off all the way. We consider all of those leaks. It's any kind of anomalous use. And our app is really good at finding those and letting you know that they're happening. As I said before, too, we give you real-time usage. So, every minute the app's refreshing, telling you exactly how much water is being used. And then we can also tell you, again, how much is being used by which appliances and which appliances you're using the most water in as well. And then last but not least, and this is really kind of important for conservation, if you do want to try water, you can set budgets in the app. So you can say, hey, I only want to use 50 gallons a day. And then the app can alert you as you're getting close to those budgets, or you can set it by the week or the month. And then you can really start to kind of figure out when you're kind of using a little more each day than the past days. So that's kind of a cool feature of the app that really helps you save water. And if we go to the next slide. So why should you think about getting a Flume? So like I said, around 70% of our customers find a leak within 30 days. Again, it could just be as simple as somebody left a faucet on, but again, it's a waste of water, and we're letting you know that happens. And then also, it's really important to understand where your water's going. Again, it's really hard to save water if you don't really know where it's going and how much you're using. Most people have no idea, even though you're taking a 5-minute shower, you'll have no idea how much water that even is. The spoiler alert, it's about 2 gallons a minute. So that 5-minute shower is taking 10 gallons. And if you think about two big painter's buckets of water, it's quite a bit of water. So again, it really helps to kind of understand that and quantify it. Most important really, well, maybe not most important, but as you're conserving, and if you're paying that water bill, you're saving money on your bill, of course. And if you look at, it sounds like most people here get their water from LADWP. It's a tiered structure, and the more water you use, you pay per unit of water. So you want to be in those lower tiers. So the less water you're using, the less you're paying actually per unit of water as well. And again, what we're all here for is really, this is a device that helps you save water ultimately. Most of our customers lower their water use by about 15%. A lot of that is because of leaks, and a lot of that is because people change their behavior once they can understand how and where they're using water. Next slide, please. Just some quotes here. If you go on Amazon and look for our product, you can find all kinds of reviews. People really like the device. It's fun. It really appeals to people who, are gadget guys like me who really, enjoy technology. So like to, be able to, I'm the same guy that's got the Ring doorbell and the Nest thermostat and all those things. So people like that like our device, people that want to conserve water like our device, people who have just had a horrible leak like our device because they want to make sure that never happens again. So all kinds of reasons why people buy this, but in the end, we get a lot of great reviews on it. Next slide, please. So how do you install it? So I talked a little bit about this. The first thing that you need to do is download the app, as with all smart home devices. Well, first thing you need to do is buy it, and I'll talk about that in a second. The great news is in LA, it's very inexpensive. Um, Once you get the device, it'll come in a box that looks like the picture on the left here. The two pieces that I talked about, the piece on the left that straps around the meter, the piece on the right, which is what we call the bridge, that'll sit inside of your house and connect to Wi-Fi. Um, so you'll get those out of the box. In the middle, it shows you'll plug in the bridge and hook that up to Wi-Fi. And then the last step of the process is you'll take the other piece and strap it around the meter. You'll run some water to test it, and then you're good to go. It takes about 15 minutes usually to install the device. The hardest part sometimes is finding your water meter. Most people have no idea where that is. In LA, if you're in LA, actually, if you're in Southern California, the meter is usually located outside under a concrete lid, usually kind of on your lawn or near the side. So it's usually outside in your front yard somewhere. It's usually pretty easy to find it once you know where to look. And next slide, please. In terms of purchasing the device, the good news for LADWP customers, and sorry, this slide is really ugly, so I apologize, a lot of words here. So for LADWP customers, the device, the way it works is a website that I have listed here, flumewater.com/LADWP. So it's a pretty simple URL to remember. What will happen is you can purchase the device for $49. We'll ship it to you, and as soon as you install it, we'll refund $25 back to your credit card. So at the end of the day, the device really costs about $25. The good news about that is, retail this device is $250. So LA is paying a large portion of that for you. So it makes it very kind of easy for Angelinos to buy a device. I don't know if anybody else has a different water company. There's many in Los Angeles area. I listed a couple of others that have different rebate programs, but they're all pretty similar. Hopefully there'll be a way for you to, is there going to be a way for people to access these slides afterwards, Bailey?
Yeah, yeah, we'll
Okay,
post these
so you'll
slides.
have access to those URLs. And if you forget all of these URLs, if you just go to flumewater.com and go to buy a device online, during the purchase process, there is a rebate checker, and you just put in your address. It'll tell you what water company you're in and whether there's a rebate or not. So you don't even have to really remember. You just Flume. And next slide. And that's it. So try to make that as short as possible. If there's any questions, that's my email address right there on the slide, joe@flumewater.com. Feel free to email me. And then I think there's going to be a little Q&A period right now if you have any questions. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, thank you. And definitely learned some things in that presentation myself. Um, didn't know that the water meter was outside in the ground. That was very interesting. I actually have a question for you, Joe. I was thinking about the last apartment building I was in, and I did have my own water bill, and we had our own water meter. But is there a maximum distance that the bridge and the component that attaches to the water meter have to be apart from, or is there like a minimum or maximum? I'm just thinking, in my last apartment building, I was in a townhouse, so there is like a floor of difference between myself and the like where the water meter would be, and like ideally where I would have put the bridge.
Yeah, it's a great question. So the bridge and the piece that goes on the water meter can be up to 1,000 feet apart. Can
Oh,
be
okay.
really long distance. It- these devices get installed in the smallest houses and in the giant palatial mansions, and water meters are, you actually have to take a golf cart to get to them. So we can work in pretty much all applications.
Oh, that's good to know. Good to know. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Um, I think I think we don't have any questions tonight, so that is a-okay. We will once again post this workshop as a resource on LA Waterkeeper's socials and on our website. Thank you all again for joining us tonight to have this important conversation about water conservation. And thank you, Jill. Thank you, Ari. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you. Take care.
everybody.